Okay, so picture this. You're on a tropical island. Sounds pretty nice,
A
right?
little vacation spot, maybe.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
erase the sunshine. Replace it with, a torrential Category 5 hurricane.
Right.
The palm trees are basically sideways, and the ground isn't sand. It's this thick industrial sludge. The whole planet is suffering from some pretty massive pollution.
It's not exactly the resort brochure experience.
Definitely not. This is Tavrik III. And you're not there for a tan, you're there for a high-stakes diplomatic summit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Federation, the Kaldari, and the Vethari all sort of locked in a room trying to hammer out a peace treaty while this storm is just raging outside. And then the unthinkable happens.
It's the perfect setup for a classic locked room mystery. You know, Agatha Christie in space.
Exactly. But instead of a butler in the library with a candlestick, we have a high-ranking diplomat, Thes Kalan, who just drops dead in the middle of a champagne reception.
And the weapon isn't a candlestick.
No. It's something that, scientifically speaking, just shouldn't even exist.
And that, right there, is where our deep dive begins today. We're looking at a really fascinating set of logs from Epsilon Fleet Ops, specifically focusing on Commodore Stephen MacCaffery and Vice Admiral Sidra MacLaren.
And these logs, they're titled the Tavrik Accord, Orchestrated Chaos. And that name. It really lives up to the hype. We are not just talking about a murder investigation here.
No, not at all.
This is a geopolitical chess match. It's being played in the mud during a hurricane where the pieces are starships and biological weapons.
Right. And the whole mission of this deep dive is to unpack how a single death on a conference table threatens to ignite a sector-wide war. We're going to look at the Frankenstein weapon, the attempted cover-up, and some of the incredible legal and tactical maneuvering MacCaffery uses to keep the galaxy from just exploding.
So let's start with the body. The Sek Kalan, he collapses, he dies. MacCaffery, who's usually the diplomat, shaking hands, signing treaties, he suddenly has to become a detective.
A role he's not entirely comfortable with.
Not at all. He orders an autopsy, and the results, well, they're baffling.
Baffling is, that's putting it mildly. The source material describes the toxin they found in Kalan's system as a Frankenstein weapon.
I love that term. It implies it's stitched together from all these different incompatible parts.
That is exactly what it is, and that's why it's so terrifying.
Yeah.
The logs break it down into 3 distinct components, and each one tells a completely different story.
Okay.
First, the base. It's a vintage Romulan neurotoxin.
Romulan.
Specifically, tall shear standard issue from around 2380.
Okay, hold on. A Romulan neurotoxin. That seems, loud. If you use a standard issue poison, aren't you basically just signing your name on the murder?
Precisely. It's almost too obvious. It screams Romulan involvement. But then you look at the second component, the scaffolding that holds the toxin together.
Your scaffolding.
It's made of Borg nanites.
Borg. As in, resistance is futile, cube-flying Borg.
The very same. But these were inert. They were stripped of the collective link. They weren't there to assimilate anybody.
So what were they for?
They were used as a delivery mechanism. See, the standard biofilters on a diplomatic station, they're looking for organic pathogens, viruses, bacteria.
Right.
They're not looking for microscopic cybernetic transport trucks.
That is brilliantly evil. So the Borg nanites are the mule, just sneaking the Romulan poison right past security.
Correct. And then the third part, the trigger. This is really the masterpiece of the design.
The thing that actually sets it off.
Right. It was a synthesized Vethari digestive enzyme.
Vethari, okay.
Which means the poison was designed to be chemically inert, completely harmless, until it came into contact with that specific physiology. You or I could have drunk that same glass of wine and been totally fine.
It was a smart weapon, programmed to kill only Thes Kalan.
Exactly.
So let's unpack this. You've got a Romulan poison base, a Borg delivery system, and a Vethari enzymatic trigger. As one of the officers in the logs, Commander Steerforth, puts it, this is a geopolitical impossibility.
It really is. Think about the politics here. These groups simply do not work together.
No.
Romulans and Vethari. Borg tech on the black market. It's all designed to be confusing. As MacCaffery notes in his personal log, the weapon points the finger at everyone and no one simultaneously.
It's not just a tool for murder, it's a tool for generating chaos.
And chaos is exactly what they get. Everyone starts looking at everyone else.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that really stuck out to me in the logs. You have this incredibly sophisticated, impossible weapon.
High-tech, scary stuff.
But how did it get onto the island? Did a stealth team beam it in? Was there like a cloak drone involved?
You'd think so.
No. And this is so often the case in high-level security breaches. We expect Mission Impossible, but what we get is a clipboard error. It wasn't high-tech infiltration, it was logistics.
Logistics, boring stuff.
The boring stuff. MacCaffery and his team, they trace the silica from the glass shards found in the wound, and it matches a shipment of agricultural catalysts.
Basically, soil revitalizers.
Exactly. It arrived on a Vethari freighter 3 days earlier.
Because, as we said, the planet's a polluted mess.
Right. So the colony was desperate for these soil fixers. The colony director, a woman named Sabine Erickson, she admits she signed for the crates personally.
And she didn't check them.
She bypassed the deep molecular scan because the colony needed the supplies immediately.
So the murder weapon came in through the front door disguised as fertilizer.
Essentially, it's a classic Trojan horse. The enemy used the colony's own desperation against them. They knew she wouldn't delay a shipment that could save her people's crops.
That is just tragic. It adds this layer of human error to everything. Okay, so the weapon's on the island. The diplomat is dead. But MacCaffery still has a huge problem.
A massive problem.
The murder happened in a room full of Starfleet sensors, and they didn't see a thing.
And this brings us to the how. MacCaffery's security chief, Lieutenant Korev, he insists the sensors were green. No breaches, no alarms. But MacCaffery,
He pushes him.
he knows something's wrong. They do a frame-by-frame analysis, and they find a tiny discrepancy. The logs call it a miner's trick.
A miner's trick. That sounds like something out of the gold rush. Explain that.
It's an old technique. It's used by ore processors in deep space to steal explosives or, high-grade ore. You take a recording of an empty room, or in this case, a peaceful reception, and you loop it into the live sensor feed.
So for 4 minutes, the security grid is just replaying old footage while the killer walks up and poisons the glass.
Precisely. To the person watching the monitor, everything looks completely normal. But in reality, the room is being manipulated. But here's the catch.
There's always a catch.
To overwrite a live security feed on a diplomatic grid like that requires level 4 command codes.
Level 4. That's top tier. That's MacCaffery's level. You can't just hack that with a tricorder.
Correct. Which implies an insider threat. Someone with the keys to the castle. And almost immediately, the system flags a suspect.
Ooh.
Ensign Maria Patel.
The steward.
Yeah.
The one who was serving the drinks.
Yep. Her badge pinged the maintenance node at the exact moment the loop started. It looks open and shut. She was there. She had the access. The timing is perfect.
But MacCaffery doesn't buy it, does he?
No. And this is where we really see MacCaffery's intuition as a leader. He looks at her profile. Maria Patel is 22. She's a steward.
Not a cyber warfare expert.
She doesn't have the skills to write a perfect sensor loop, and she certainly doesn't have level 4 codes unless someone gave them to her. She's being framed.
She's a patsy.
She's a loose end. And MacCaffery realizes that if she stays on the island, the real killer will silence her to cut the tie. She's in mortal danger.
So what does he do? This is one of my favorite parts because it seems so cold at first. He goes to her room. She's terrified, packing to run, and he just arrests her.
It looks brutal.
Yeah.
He drags her out, handcuffs her, and sends her to the brig on the USS Valley Forge. Solitary confinement.
But not to punish her.
No, to save her. By putting her in the brig, he broadcasts to everyone, "Look, I caught the suspect. Case closed."
It makes the real killer think their plan worked.
Exactly, so they stop hunting her. It's a brilliant move, using the appearance of justice to protect the witness.
It really shows that he's playing 4D chess while everyone else is just playing checkers. But speaking of paranoia, there's a massive reveal in the logs right after this.
Ah, yes, the secure channel call.
It's between MacCaffery and Vice Admiral MacLaren.
And this call, it provides the context for why everyone is so on edge. Admiral MacLaren reveals that a fixture in Fleet Ops, a high-ranking officer named Indy Hawk, was discovered to be a changeling.
A changeling, a shapeshifter from the Dominion. I mean, that changes everything.
It validates every single bit of paranoia MacCaffery is feeling. If a changeling could infiltrate Fleet Ops, the heart of Starfleet intelligence, then the enemy could be anyone.
The enemy can literally wear your face.
Right. It explains why he trusts almost no one on that island.
So the stakes are just sky high. You have changelings, you have Frankenstein weapons, insider threats, and now the suspects want to leave.
Governor Velen of the Kaldari and Sulatharn of the Vethari are basically saying, "We're done here. We're leaving."
And that creates a tactical nightmare. If Velen leaves, the Vethari will probably shoot him down to silence him and then blame Starfleet.
And if MacCaffery tries to stop him, Velen threatens to use surface batteries to shoot at the Starfleet ships. It's a Mexican standoff.
So he needs to keep them on the island, but he can't legally arrest a head of state. That's an act of war. So he pulls what the logs call a lawyer move.
This is pure genius. He weaponizes the bureaucracy. He uses the unknown nature of the weapon against them.
The Frankenstein toxin.
Since they haven't identified a cure, he files a Regulation 402 preservation order.
Regulation 402, it sounds so dry.
It is, but it's devastatingly effective. He declares the entire island a quarantine zone. He tells Vellum, "You aren't a prisoner, Governor. You're a patient."
I love it. I'm not arresting you. I'm saving you from a Class 1 biohazard. It just strips all the politics away and replaces it with health code.
Exactly. Vellum can scream about diplomatic immunity all he wants, but he can't argue with the planetary health directive. It legally traps everyone on the island without MacCaffery having to fire a shot.
But legal papers aren't really enough when you've got warships in orbit. The Vethari ship, the Gilded Hand, is just hovering up there looking for a fight.
Which is why MacCaffery calls in the cavalry. The USS Tempest, commanded by Captain Darius Chen, drops out of warp.
And they don't just show up to wave hello.
No. Together with the Valley Forge, they execute a blockade. The logs described a Picard maneuver style of electronic warfare. They create a cage around the planet.
What does that actually look like?
Well, imagine putting noise-canceling headphones and a blindfold on a spaceship.
Yeah.
They jam the Gilded Hand's communications. They flood their sensors with thousands of ghost signals.
So they trap the Vethari ship in a bubble of digital noise.
It's the ultimate power move. We aren't attacking you, but you can't move, you can't talk, and you can't see.
So the pressure's on. MacCaffery has them trapped. Now he just needs to find out who's actually pulling the strings.
And to do that, he does something that seems completely insane. He invites the bad guys into the investigation. MacCaffery holds a meeting with Selatharn. He feigns weakness. He acts like this overwhelmed diplomat who's way out of his depth. He shows her the data on the toxin, but, and this is the key, he filters it.
He hides the Vethari enzyme trigger we talked about earlier.
Right. He shows her a doctored version that only points to Romulans and Borg. Then he asks for her help to investigate these so-called Romulan extremists.
And she takes the bait.
Hook, line, and sinker. Hubris is a dangerous thing, you know. She thinks she can control the narrative from the inside. She assigns her own lead scientist, Dr. Rennick, to join the Starfleet team.
So now the fox is in the hen house. Dr. Rennick enters the lab. MacCaffery's watching him on the security feed. What happens?
Rennick puts on a bit of a show. He pretends to scrub the data, find some hidden signature. But in reality, he inserts a data rod into the console. The logs are very specific. He's not erasing evidence. He is uploading a digital fingerprint.
And what does that fingerprint say?
It points to Section 31.
Section 31. The Federation's rogue Black Ops division. The guys who do the dirty work.
It's the perfect frame-up. The Vethari plan is to make it look like the Federation murdered the diplomat to destabilize the whole region.
If that sticks, the Federation looks like the villain, and the Vethari look like victims of imperialism.
It gives them a casus belli, a reason for war.
And MacCaffery just lets them do it. He watches the guy plant the evidence and does nothing.
He has to. If he arrests Rennick right there, he just catches a scientist with a data rod. He doesn't catch the network behind him. He needs to see the full picture.
Wow.
He chooses to map the conspiracy rather than stop the immediate sabotage.
That takes nerves of steel, to just watch someone frame you, knowing you're playing the long game.
But the Vethari, they aren't just relying on digital evidence. They know a computer file isn't enough to start a war. They need blood to sell the lie.
And this leads us to the most intense part of the logs, the escalation in the mud.
Yeah, this scene is just, it's cinematic. While Rennick is inside planting the digital lie, a physical event happens outside. A Vethari envoy, a man named Kilok, is found dead in the mud.
Just outside the perimeter. And the wound is specific.
Very specific. A cauterized hole in his chest.
Consistent with a Starfleet phaser on a high kill setting?
Exactly. It's a staged execution. The Vethari sacrifice one of their own to validate the Section 31 frame-up. Now they can point to the body and say, look, the Federation is killing us right now.
So the situation just explodes. You have Selatharn screaming accusations, Governor Vellum's militia is aiming weapons at MacCaffery's hazard team.
And in orbit, the Gilded Hand manages to lock its weapons onto the Valley Forge. This is it. This is the war starting.
And what does MacCaffery do?
He makes the most counterintuitive move of his entire career. He orders his team to stand down.
Stand down with guns pointed at them.
He orders them to lower shields and power down weapons. He makes his team completely visibly vulnerable.
Why I mean, that sounds suicidal. If one person pulls a trigger, they're all dead.
It's psychological warfare. If they fire back, even in self-defense, they prove the Vethari narrative right. The headline becomes Starfleet Firefight. By refusing to fight, by just standing there defenseless in the rain, he confuses Velm.
It breaks the momentum.
It does. It forces Velm to make a choice. Execute unarmed people in cold blood or wait. And Velm, despite all his bluster, he isn't a butcher. He hesitates. The shooting doesn't start.
It proves, physically, that Starfleet isn't there to kill.
So he diffuses the immediate standoff. But, and there's a very big but here.
Damage is done.
The damage is done.
Yep.
The Vetharis have successfully planted their false evidence. They have a body that looks like a Starfleet kill. MacCaffery survives the morning, but the Vetharis have set the stage for a massive diplomatic crisis.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, where does that leave us? MacCaffery didn't win in the traditional sense. The bad guys aren't in handcuffs.
No, they aren't. In the outro of the logs, MacCaffery actually acknowledges this. He writes that he has lost the battle. The Vetharis look like victims to the rest of the galaxy, and that Section 31 lie is out there, poisoning the Federation's reputation.
But he saved his team, and he trapped the conspirators on the island long enough to get the data he needed.
Exactly. He bought time. And he knows the truth. The investigation has transitioned. It's no longer a murder mystery about a single diplomat.
No.
It's a hunt for a shadow network involving changelings, the Vethari High Command, and illicit Romulan tech.
It really feels like the end of the first act of a much bigger, much darker story.
It absolutely is. MacCaffery stood in that mud and realized he wasn't fighting a criminal. He was fighting an orchestration, a narrative being written by an enemy that operates entirely in the dark.
It's chilling. You know, the image that sticks with me isn't the spaceship blockade or the fancy weapon. It's MacCaffery standing there, having invited the killer into his house, watching them plant the evidence.
Just waiting for the trap to snap shut around them eventually.
It really forces us to ask a difficult question. In a universe where your enemy can rewrite your security logs, frame your government, and even wear the face of your friends, how do you fight them? MacCaffery's answer seems to be, you don't fight them with force. You fight them with patience, and you fight them with the truth no matter how long it takes to uncover it. The difference between winning the fight and winning history. And on that provocative note, we're going to leave you to mull over the complexities of galactic diplomacy. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the Tavrik incident. Stay curious and watch your back.
Indeed. Until next time.